Welcome to Pattern and Craft. I'm Courtney, and in today's video I'm going to demonstrate how to make this beautiful crochet snowflake. I will also have tutorials for this one, and I will include the links in the description of this video. If you notice, all three of these have the same center, this little star, and that is created with the first two rounds, which is the same for all three. And the following rounds are a little bit different so that you get a different shape and size. I will be releasing this as a single pattern that you can purchase. Of course, you can watch the videos for free, and I will do a video on each of the designs, and there will be a link in the description. I will release all the videos at the same time, so if you finish this video and want to try one of the others, it will already be available for you. Also, if you've already watched one of the other videos for a different snowflake and you've already memorized the first two rounds and don't need to see those again, then you can jump ahead to this timestamp. To make this, I'll be using a 3.5mm or size E crochet hook, and I'll be using Cotton Fair yarn. This is my favorite yarn for making these snowflakes. It is a cotton acrylic blend, a number 2 fine yarn. I like it because it has good stitch definition, and it's also a little lighter than cotton would be. Acrylic's a little bit lighter. Cotton has good structure, and the combo of the two is a nice blend for making these snowflakes. But go ahead and use any similar yarn that you prefer. This is a great little project for using up leftovers, and they make great holiday decorations. Here you can see that I have them chained together to form a little garland. And of course you could make this as large or as long as you want. I mostly tend to use them for Christmas tree ornaments, and I also include them with my holiday cards. When I send my Christmas cards out, I'll just tuck one of these inside. They're light enough and small enough to fit inside a standard greeting card. You could also use these to jazz up a gift bag or a wrapped package. You can adorn a window. So I'm going to show you how to make these. They're really fun. They come together quickly, and they make a great winter decoration and a great last minute gift. Now, I will be referring to a pattern chart in this video. If you don't like to follow pattern charts, that's fine. Just follow along with the steps, or you can get the written pattern, which has everything written out. I just like to include a chart in my patterns and refer to it in my videos sometimes because it gives you a visual of what we're going to be doing. So for the first round, I'm just going to point out what we're doing, and then I will demo it. But we're going to do a magic ring. Then we're going to chain one just to get up to the point where we're ready to make single crochets. And we'll do a single crochet, a chain two, a single crochet, chain two, and copy that pattern, single crochet, chain two, all the way around until we have 6 single crochets, each separated by chain two. And then we'll slip stitch back into that first single crochet. All right, to get started, we need to create a magic ring. If you do not like making a magic ring, you can use any other center ring start that you prefer. I'm going to demo the magic ring. I like to hold the cut end of my yarn with these 2 fingers and then put my other fingers this way, and I wrap the working yarn over, behind, and over again to create an X, and I hold the yarn with my thumb, and then I go under the top right leg, over the top left leg, and I pull that leg through and twist, and then yarn over, reposition while I hold everything with my index finger and pull that loop through. That creates a chain one that also secures my magic ring. I can take this tail and I can pull on it to make the ring any size that I want. And I'm just going to leave it about that big to work into for the first round. All right, we're ready to go. We have our magic ring, we have a chain one, and it's time to do round one, which is single crochet into the ring and chain two. 1, 2. We're going to repeat that 5 more times for a total of 6. So single crochet into the ring, chain 2, 1 and 2, single crochet into the ring, chain 2, 1, 2, single crochet, chain 2. And we're going to do that till we have 6 single crochets, each separated by a chain 2 and ending with a chain 2. I'm going to double check because I lost count. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 single crochets, so I need one more. Single crochet, chain 2. 1, 2. Okay, that's all the stitches we need for round 1, and now we can pull this ring tight by pulling on the tail here, and that just cinches all of that tight and closed. And we do want to close the round by going back into this first single crochet of the round here, and we're going to insert our hook and make a slip stitch into that first single crochet there that we started the round with, and just pull up a loop and pull through for a slip stitch, and that secures the first round. And it does look sort of like a little hexagon. Each of these points is where we did our chain 2, and each of these valleys is where we have a single crochet. So there should be 6 points of our little hexagon here for round 1. All right, now we want to do round 2, which I'll show you on the pattern chart. So I indicate the different rounds with different shades. So the first round is the light gray, the next round is the black, and here we are. We had just done this slip stitch into the single crochet. So for round 2, we're going to slip stitch into this corner chain space, the chain 2 chain space that we made. And then we're going to chain 2 to start what are a double crochet 2 together because we're working from the bottom. And then we're going to finish that double crochet 2 together in the next chain space over. Then we're going to chain 5 and then do a double crochet 2 together, working into first the same chain space we just worked into, and then into the next one. A double crochet 2 together is just making 2 double crochets partially and then connecting the top. So you make the first half of a double crochet, the first half of a double crochet, and then connect, which I will show you how to do now. And we do that all the way around 6 times and then join. All right, for round 2, we want to work from this chain space here. Right now we're in one of the valleys, so we want to do a slip stitch into that little corner chain space there. And that gets us set up for starting round 2. And in round 2, we're doing double crochet 2 together with chains in between. So for the first leg of our first double crochet 2 together, we need to chain 2 because we're working from the bottom. Then we're going to yarn over and insert our hook into the next point over, the next chain space. To make the second half of that stitch, we're going to pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Now we have both stitches on the hook. We're going to yarn over and pull through all the loops on the hook. So that creates basically 2 stitches joined into one. We have one leg in this point of our hexagon, one leg in the next point over. Now we're going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, and for the next stitch, we want to create a double crochet 2 together, and we're going to yarn over and we're going to work back into the same chain space that we just worked the second half of the previous stitch into. We want to insert our hook in that same spot, pull up a loop, and yarn over and pull through 2. But that's where we want to stop. We're making a double crochet stitch, but we're only making the first portion of it. Normally we would yarn over and pull through 2 again for the rest of the double crochet, but we just want to make that first half of the stitch. Now we want to make another partial double crochet, and now we want to jump to the next point on our hexagon, so the next chain space over. And we want to insert our hook there, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 only, and that creates another partial double crochet stitch. Now we can yarn over and pull through all the loops on the hook to join those two stitches together into one at the top. So we have one leg in one chain space, one leg in the other, and the top of the stitch is joined as one. Now chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for a pretty big chain space we'll work into on the next round. And we're going to repeat what we just did. So yarn over, insert your hook in the same spot that we just worked into, make a partial double crochet stitch, so just pull through 2, then yarn over and go into the next chain space, so the next point on our hexagon, and make a partial double crochet stitch. And now we have 2 partial double crochet stitches, one worked into this chain space and one worked into this next one. Yarn over, pull through all loops, and now we've joined those stitches together. Chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, into the same chain space, make the first half of our double crochet 2 together. If you need to double check, it's right there where the bottom of this stitch is. That's where we go into first. Right there, and then we work the next partial double crochet into the next chain space over. Like that. And then we yarn over and pull through all loops to join. We need to do that 2 more times because you can see we have 1, 2, 3, 4 of our little star points created, and we need 6 total. So chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Make a partial double crochet in the same spot. And then a partial double crochet in the next chain space over. Yarn over, pull through all. Chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And do that one more time where we work the first part of our double crochet 2 together into that same chain space. And now we're going to work into the next chain space, and you'll see that first stitch is coming out of it. So we're ending at the same place we started with our last partial double crochet stitch. And then we're going to yarn over and pull through all loops to create that double crochet 2 together. We need to chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to create that last chain space. And now we slip stitch into the first stitch to the top of the first stitch to close that round. So right in here, we're going to insert our hook and do a slip stitch there to secure the round. So this completes the first 2 rounds of the snowflake. This is the center we'll have for all 3 of these designs. You can see we've created a little star here, a 6-pointed star, and we have 6 chain spaces all around that we'll be working into on the following rounds. So round 3 of this snowflake consists of, we're starting from here where we just slip stitched into the top of the double crochet 2 together. We're going to chain 1 and we're going to make 4 single crochet into this chain space. And we're going to make a sort of elongated picot. We're going to do a chain 6 and then attach back to that single crochet, do another 4 single crochet and a chain 1. And that's going to be our pattern. 4 single crochet, a loop, 4 single crochet, chain 1. And we're going to do that 6 times all the way around. And I will demo how we do that now. There's a little bit of a trick to it. Okay, so we're going to do just a simple chain 1. This just gets us up to the level of where we're going to start making our stitches. It doesn't really count as a stitch. Now we're going to go into this chain space and make a single crochet And I'm going to be making 4 single crochet, but I like to, after this first one is created, kind of just hold on to the chain and push my finger down on the stitch and kind of just scoot it over so it's right next to the point of this little star, right at the start of that chain. Now I'm going to go ahead and make 3 more single crochets into this chain space for a total of 4. And I want this last one to be about in the middle of that chain space. And if it's not, you can kind of snug the stitches over if you need to. Now we're going to chain 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And this is going to become a loop because we're going to turn and we're going to attach it to that single crochet there, the last one we made. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to insert our hook into the top front loop of that stitch and into the front leg of that stitch. So if you're looking at it the way you made it, it's the front top loop of the single crochet and the left leg in front. But we're going to kind of turn it so it's easier to get in there. So we want to go into those 2 spots, yarn over, and slip stitch into that stitch. And that makes a little loop out of our 6 chains here. And we're going to work into that in the next round, so don't worry about it right now. Now we want to make 4 single crochets into the rest of this chain space. 1, 2, and then if you run out of room, just squish the stitches. 3, and 4. And we want that to be placed evenly in the middle for the loop, and then 4 on each side. And then we chain 1. And that's the pattern that we're going to be repeating all the way around. I'll do it a couple more times and then let you finish on your own. So again, we make a single crochet into the next chain space, and then we want to snug it up by pulling the chain and pushing the stitch, and then make 3 more. 1, 2, 3, and then reposition the stitches if necessary so that we're using up about half the chain space. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 chains. And now we need to make that loop attached to this last single crochet. So it's kind of like what you do for a picot, but a picot is generally 3 chains. This is 6. So we go into the top loop and the front leg of that stitch and slip stitch. And that creates this little loop here that we'll work into later. And then make 4 single crochet into this chain space, moving over if you need to make room. Yeah, I need to move my stitches a little bit. There we go. And then chain 1. We want a chain 1 between each of these sort of petal shapes, because we're going to work into that spot as well in the next round. All right, I'll do one more time with you and then you can finish up on your own. So single crochet, move that stitch down if needed. 3 more. 1, 2, 3 single crochet, chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Turn and insert the hook into the single crochet and slip stitch to close that little loop. And then 4 more single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, and chain 1. Like that. Okay, so do the same thing 3 more times and I'll meet you back at that point over here. Okay, I've worked all around and I'm just making that last single crochet into the chain space. Now to join it, we don't want to do a chain 1, we actually want to do a single crochet into that first stitch to join this part, to join the round. And the reason we do that is hard to explain. It's just a little bit easier going into the next round than doing a chain 1 and a slip stitch, because I kind of want my yarn to be coming out of the middle point instead of out of the top of that stitch. So instead of chain 1 slip stitch, we're going to just make a single crochet into the first stitch of the round, and that will close off this round. And you can see now we have this cute little shape with little loops at the point of each of these little star points or petals. All right, and you can see there are quite a few stitches crammed into the chain space, but that crowding kind of makes the snowflake stiff, which makes it hold its shape better instead of flopping and being very soft. We don't want it to be soft and flowy, we want it to have structure. Don't worry if it's not completely flat. I will show you a technique to work with that later. All right, that is the end of round 3. We are ready to do round 4. I'm going to refer to the chart again. So for round 4, it's the dark stitches again. So we've just made this little single crochet join. Now we're going to create a double crochet into that loop that we created, that 6 chain loop. And we're going to do 1, 2, 3 double crochet into the loop, chain 1, then 2 double crochet into the loop, chain 2, 2 double crochet, chain 1, 3 double crochet, and then we're going to slip stitch into that little chain 1 space that we created between these chain spaces, remember? And then we'll repeat that. So we'll do 3 double crochet, chain 1, 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet, chain 1, 3 double crochet, slip stitch. Okay, I'm going to demo that now, but I hope that helps you see how the chart sort of relates to what it is we're doing on the hook. And if you actually learn how to follow charts, you barely even need to look at the written instructions. And I actually prefer it that way, but everybody's a little different in what they prefer. Some like videos, some like charts, some like written. I like kind of a combo of all. All right, so we're going to do that. We're going to double crochet into this loop that we have here. So double crochet. And again, just like before, we want to kind of take that first stitch, hold the chain, and snug it down to the beginning point of that chain. Now we can finish our other 2 stitches. So we want a total of 3 double crochet here into this loop. Now we're going to chain 1, and we're going to do 2 more double crochet into the loop, 1 and 2, and then we're going to kind of snug it so that it fills half the loop. These stitches fill half the loop, and we have half the loop for the rest of the stitches. Chain 2, and then do the reverse of that. So 2 double crochet, chain 1, and 3 double crochet. 1, 2, and 3 into that loop. And then we're finished with this little petal. But we do want to slip stitch into this spot here. It's a little hard to see, but remember when we made a little chain 1 between this chain space and working into this chain space, we left a little chain 1. That's where we're going to slip stitch into, which secures this little petal kind of down into the corner. Now we're going to make that same pattern one more time. So double crochet into this loop here. And after that first stitch, we want to shove it over into the corner so it's at the start of the loop. 2 more, 1 and 2. So we have a total of 3 now into the loop, and then we want to chain 1. Then we want to do 2 double crochet, 1 and 2, and then make sure that's taking up about half of the loop. This looks like a little more than half, so I'm going to move over the stitches so I have more room. Chain 2, 2 double crochet into the loop again, 1 and 2, chain 1. Now 3 double crochet in the rest of that loop or chain space, 1, 2, and 3. There we go. And then we're going to slip stitch into the chain 1 space right here, like that, to secure it down. So now you can see we have 2 out of 6 of the loops worked into. So you want to just keep on going around and work this same pattern all the way around. And I'll meet you back here just before you make that last slip stitch, okay? Okay, I've just finished my last little petal here. I'm ready to slip stitch to secure this down into the corner, and also that will finish off the round. And I'm just going to slip stitch into this little space here that's created right before the single crochet we made to join. Right there is where I'm going to slip stitch to join and finish my round. Now you can see that that made a cute little snowflake shape. It might be a little wonky. You can see mine's a little bit stretched out in spots. Don't worry about that at all. I will have a fix for that at the end. So if yours is a little wonky like mine, no worries. We are going to do one more round, which will tighten up the outside edge, and then I will show you how to weave in your ends in a way to clean up this area. It's a pretty cute shape right now already, but we are going to do one more round to just give it a little extra something. But that is the end of round 4. All right, we're ready for round 5. So we have ended here where we slip stitched into this single crochet. Now we're going to go around the outside edge of all these petals now. And we're going to slip stitch into this first double crochet, then we're going to single crochet into the next 2, single crochet into the chain space, chain 1, single crochet back into the same chain space, single crochet into each of these double crochets, single crochet into the chain 2 corner chain space. Then we're going to make a 3 chain picot. We're going to do it the same exact way we did this 6 chain loop, except that we're going to just make 3 chains this time before we slip stitch back into the single crochet. Going to make another single crochet into this chain space, 1 into each of these stitches, then single crochet, chain 1, single crochet into this chain space, single crochet into these 2 stitches, slip stitch into the third one, and then we're going to jump across to the next petal and repeat the whole thing and work the same all the way around. Okay, so here we go, round 5, last round. Like I said, we're going to slip stitch into the very first double crochet of that petal. Then we're going to single crochet into the next 2 stitches, 1 and 2. Then we're going to do a single crochet into the chain space, and then chain 1, and then another single crochet into that same chain space. You might need to move these stitches over just a bit so you can work into this stitch here. we're going to do a single crochet into each of these 2 stitches, 1 and 2, just into the tops of the stitches, into both loops. This is how we're working. Now we have this chain 2 chain space at the corner. We're going to do a single crochet, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to attach that again the same way we did the loops. We're going to go through the top front loop and the front left leg of that single crochet stitch and slip stitch into those spots in the single crochet. And when you only have 3 chains instead of 6, instead of making a loop, it just kind of makes a little bump. And then we're going to single crochet back into that same chain space, which secures that little bump down. Then we're going to single crochet into the next 2 double crochet stitches, single crochet into the chain 1 space, chain 1, single crochet into the chain 1 space again, then move that stitch over so you can access the top of this stitch, and then single crochet in the next 2 stitches, 1 and 2. And then in this 3rd double crochet stitch, we just want to do a slip stitch there, not a single crochet. There's not quite enough room to put a whole stitch, so we're just going to slip stitch. And then we're going to go across to the next petal over and do the same thing. We're going to slip stitch into the 1st double crochet stitch. Then we're going to work a single crochet into each of the next 2 double crochets, 1 and 2, then a single crochet, chain 1 and another single crochet into this corner chain space here. Move the stitches over if you need to. Now single crochet into the next 2 stitches, 1 and 2. And now we're going to do that little picot pattern at the corner chain space here, the chain 2 chain space in the middle of our petal. We're going to do a single crochet, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and slip stitch into that single crochet there through the loop and front leg. And then single crochet back into the same chain space for our picot. This chain 3 and join is a picot. Now a single crochet into the next 2 stitches, single crochet, chain 1 and single crochet again into the chain 1 chain space at the corner here, at the side corner. Snug that stitch over to access this stitch and do a single crochet into the first 2 double crochets and then into this 3rd double crochet, just slip stitch. All right, so I will meet you back when you've come over here, but I did want to show you, see how that cleans up the shape quite a bit, just working around the edge, how much these have kind of calmed down the shape, whereas over here we're a little bit wonky. Over here we're looking much cleaner and more put together. So just keep working around, and with a nice tight tension you should see the shape of this snowflake drastically improve as you work around the edge. And again, I will show you how to fix the inside in the next step. So work into the next 4 petals the same way we just did all the way around. Okay, I have slip stitched into the last stitch of this petal, and I can go ahead and pull out a loop and then cut this tail, but I want to leave this tail pretty long because we're going to use it to go through these stitches here. So I want to leave quite a bit because I'm going to weave that through. So leave a long tail and then pull this loop so it comes all the way out the top of that stitch. But here we can see our snowflake so far. Now I'm going to thread that tail onto a tapestry needle. So you'll want a pretty thin yarn needle or a pretty hefty tapestry needle with an eye large enough for a piece of yarn to go through. So we're gonna thread that in there. And we're gonna finish off this round nicely by going into the next space right here. Go from front to back and pull it tight. And then I'm actually gonna go into this top of this loop where this yarn is coming out of, like so. And that just is called a needle finish. And it looks pretty invisible. Now we're gonna go to the back side of the work and we're gonna weave this end in, but we're gonna wanna kind of end up somewhere around here so we can go around this section. So I'm gonna just weave through the stitches wherever it seems like a good spot to hide the yarn. Maybe go down through these loops. And we want to end up over here at the start of this chain space here, where all these little bottoms of the stitches are lined up. They're going around that chain space. So we're gonna thread our needle through that same spot, through the bottom of all these stitches, through that little tube that creates. And we're just gonna put our yarn through there. You can work a few stitches at a time. Just go through these stitches. You don't need to go through the chain inside, just through the bottoms of those stitches with your yarn. And pull it tight. Don't pull it too tight. You don't want to cinch it, but you do want it to just be a little tighter than maybe when you worked your stitches. Now we're going to go into the next area here through the bottoms of those stitches, just like that. Pull tight, but not too tight. And through the rest of the stitches in this space. And anyway, we're just going to keep on going around through these specific stitches all the way around. You can see as we do this, it reinforces this area and flattens it out. So this wonkiness here is eliminated. So just keep going around and I'll show you that in a moment, how much nicer it looks. But you can already see the area we've worked is looking better. Okay, I've gone all the way around and kind of overlapped this last one here, and you could keep going around and around, but I don't think it's necessary, and you don't want it to get too bulky either. You just kind of want to tighten up that little area. And now everything's laying flat. It's not funky or loose anymore. It's looking good. So I'm going to go ahead and just clip off that little bit of yarn. And the only thing left to weave in is the tail in the center. Now there is a little bit of a trick with this as well. So when we made our magic ring, we're basically just working over a loop of string. So when we weave in this end, we do want to weave it into these center stitches to reinforce the magic ring, but we don't want to go the opposite direction or we will undo the magic ring, which we do not want to do. So you can see that this, if you pull this little yarn, you can see it's coming out of this stitch. So we don't want to go back through this stitch. That will undo what we've done. So we want to go into the other direction, into the stitch that the yarn's not coming out of. So basically for this one, we'll be working in a clockwise direction, and we'll just be going through those same stitches that we worked in the center. Just a couple more times. I don't think it's super important for this type of project, but if you were making a blanket or something with squares that were worked from the center out, you do want to reinforce that magic ring with going through the stitches a few more times, only in the one direction. Don't go in multiple directions. Don't go back on yourself, or you will unwind your magic ring. You want to add to it, not undo it. So I'm pretty good with this amount of going through the stitches. I think that's plenty. Oops. And again, we can just clip that string. We don't need to tie knots or anything. It's not going to go anywhere. You can just clip off that tail. And we are now done with our little snowflake. Now, one more thing you could do with your snowflake now that it's finished is you could either wet block it or you could steam block it to give it a little bit more flatness and improve the shape somewhat. That's up to you whether you want to take that extra step. To steam block it, you'd take a garment steamer and just like hit it with some steam real quick, or if you wanted to wet block it, sometimes I do that. I just soak it in warm water for about 10 minutes until it's fully saturated with water. Then I blot it dry with a towel. Then I shape it and make sure it's nicely shaped and laid flat and let it air dry. And then it just looks a little bit better because those stitches kind of plump up with the water and then even themselves out, and then you can kind of shape it and manipulate it while it's wet, and then it can dry into shape. You could also pin it if you wanted to really control the shape. But I'm usually pretty happy with how it looks right off the hook, and once you've woven in those ends to just tighten things up. So that is the Snowflake A from my trio of snowflakes that I will be releasing 3 videos for and 1 pattern for. So if you do get the pattern, you get the directions and instructions for all 3, and it includes step-by-step instructions, written pattern, pattern chart, and photos of each step. Or of course, you can always refer back to these videos as many times as you need. I hope you try out this crochet snowflake. If you do, I would love to see your version. So if you post it to Instagram, tag me at Pattern and Craft. And also don't forget to check the description for links to my pattern shop and any discount codes that I usually have a 20% off code down there. You can also support the channel by liking the video and subscribing and leaving a comment or sharing the video. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you have a good winter, a good holiday, and happy crafting.